If you're watching this video, it's because either you've missed a lesson on multi-step equations, variables on both sides, or you're looking for a refresher in me solving some problems. So, multi-step equations. We've done multi-step equations with a variable on one side. We've done two-step equations. We've done one-step equations. So we've got a lot of experience with equations at this point. But I'm going to go over the basic steps that I've already done before, but just, a refresher. There we go. Okay. So, same thing as before, we have those pre-steps. We have those steps where we're going to have to see, all right, do I have any like terms to combine? Do I have the distributive property? Stuff like that, right? Then we're going to do what we've been doing, which is using the inverse and then using the inverse to combine those like terms, which is something I haven't stressed nearly as much before, but I want to stress that, which is when we do that step where we get all the variables to one side and you use the inverse to remove the variable from one side and bring it to the other, you can only combine it with the same variable. You can't do, 4 minus 3n and get 1n. That doesn't make any sense. You can only combine things that have the same variable to the same exponent. So again, we're going to get all the variables to one side. Then we're going to get all the numbers that aren't attached to variables to the other side. And then we're going to solve for the variable using the inverse. In that case, it's always multiplication or division, and we're going to get our final answer. So let's take a look at some problems. So this is a very simple first problem. It's a warm-up. So I do a look, and I go, okay, on left side, any like terms? No. Right side, any like terms? No. Okay. Distributive property? I don't see any parentheses. Okay. Now I want to get all the variables to one side. So I'm going to look, and I have this here and this here. It doesn't matter which way you go. I'm going to go this way. I'm going to subtract the 4n here and subtract it here. You could subtract the 8n over. It doesn't matter as long as the variable is on one side. So when I do that, and this is my red step here, moving all the variables to one side, 4n minus 4n is 0. That's zeroed out. And 8n minus 4n gives me 4n. So I'm here now. Okay. Now I don't have the green step because I don't have any numbers on this side that need to be moved away from the variable. So I can go straight to my blue step, which is that I want to get n completely by itself. Now the operation between the 4 and the end is multiplication. So I'm going to divide both sides by 4. Remember, we always divide by the same number. Not negative 4, but positive 4, because 4 divided by 4 would give us a positive 1. Now negative 4 divided by 4 is going to give us negative 1. Here, let me make that color different. Negative 1. That's my final answer. And for this, if you wanted to rewrite it, you'd say n is negative 1 if you want to see what the variable on the left. Now, this next problem is a problem that we would have done in class. So let's take a look at this problem. So I take a look. No distributive property. This is a p and this is a 4. They're not like terms. This is a negative 9 and this is a 2p. They're not like terms. Okay. All right. So now, yellow step, no pre-steps. But now I want to move all my variables to one side. I have a p here and a 2p here. It doesn't matter which way you want to go. How do you want to go? How about this? Let's move this one. So I'm going to get rid of it by subtracting 2p, and I'm going to subtract the 2p from the p. Remember, you can only add or subtract things that are like terms, that have the same variable to the same exponent. 2p minus 2p gives me 0, and p minus 2p gives me negative p. Because remember, don't forget, there is an imaginary 1 here. That's why 1 minus negative 2 gives me negative 1. Now, when I got everything left here, I'm here so far. Now, I go to my green step, and I go, okay. I have a number here and a number here. I want this p to be by itself. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add 4 over. I have to move this 4. It does matter here because the whole point is to get p by itself. And if I move this 9 and not this 4, I'm not going to be where I want to be. I'm not going to have a variable on one side and a number on the other. So this is where I am so far. Now, this is not it. This is not my final answer. Because this is negative p. And what I want is positive p. We never solve for negative p. So you go, well, what I don't know what to do. Don't worry. There's a negative 1 here. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide both sides by negative 1. And when I do that, I get p is equal to positive 5. Okay? Let's amp it up a notch. Look at this. Now, I got a whole bunch of things going on here. So let's deal with it first. Okay. I do have a distributive property, so I am going to take this 6 and I'm going to distribute it to the 1 and I'm going to distribute it to the 3k. I'm going to rewrite everything else, so I'm going to be here. Oh, wrong symbol. I'm going to get 6 times 1 plus 3k. Remember that 6 is going to get multiplied both to the 1 and to the 3k. So now I'm going to have negative 18 minus 6k. 6 times 1 is going to give me 6. Let's make that box a little smaller so I can actually draw my little arrow. This is going to give me 6. 3k plus 6 is going to give me plus 18k. Okay. So now I move on to my red step. I want to move all the variables to one side. And again, it doesn't matter which way you go. So how about this? How about we add 6k over? Now this is the point where some people are going to have different steps, and that's okay. As long as all your steps, as long as you're not making an error like doing 2 plus 2 is 5 or something, that's fine. If you chose to bring the 18 over, you're still right. So I'm here. I have negative 18 equals 6. I almost wrote negative 6. Oops. 18 plus 6 is 24k. So now this step does matter based on what you've done. I'm going to bring the 6 over. I'm going to subtract 6 from both sides. I'm not going to subtract 18 because I want the number without a variable to be on the opposite side of the variable. So I'm going to have negative 24. This cancels out. I didn't quite give myself enough room, but that's okay. Because my last step, I want to undo the multiplication that's happening between the 24 and the k. I'm going to divide both sides by 24, and I'm going to put my answer over here because I ran out of room. But I'm going to get k is negative 1. All right, let's look at another problem. So, first step, we're going to use that distributive property again, because I see it here. I see those parentheses. I'm going to take this negative 8, negative and all, and I'm going to distribute it. I'm going to get 3f minus 5. You know, let's bring that up a little higher, because I've been running out of room. And it's going to be negative 8 times 6 plus 5f times 8. Now when I do that, this is not a times, this is a minus. I'm going to have 3f minus 5. Negative 8 times 6 is going to give me negative 48. And 5f times 8 is going to give me positive 40f. Oh, and I made a mistake, guys. You see, I forgot to write the negative sign here. So when that happens, actually, should have a negative. All right, much better. So now I'm going to move to my red step. I'm going to move an f to one side. I got to pick which f I'm going to move. Let's move this one. I like to move negatives over. It's a personal preference. This cancels out, and I get 43f minus 5 is negative 48. Now I'm going to move all my numbers, and I'm going to add 5 over. Again, I'm going to move it away from here. And I've noticed in all these problems, I'm getting like 1. That doesn't always happen. This is just the math software I use to generate random problems doing some weird stuff. Last step, I'm going to divide both sides by 43. And I'm going to get f is equal to -1. All right, last problem I have here. Let's see if we get -1 again. First step, I'm going to distribute this 2. And I'm going to get 2 times, oh, let me move it up. I'm going to get 2 times 4h minus 3 times 2 minus 8 is 4 plus 2h. So then 2 times 4h is 8h. Let me try that h again. -3 times 2 is -6. I got this -8 here. My next step is going to be to actually combine my like terms. So -6 and a -8 is going to give me a -14. So now I'm finally in my 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to move my 8h over. I'm going to subtract 8h from both sides. It doesn't matter which direction you go. When I do that, I'm going to get -14 is equal to 4 minus 6h. That means I have to bring my 4 over, so I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. I'm going to get -18 equals -6h. And then I'm going to divide both sides by -6 and get my final answer of h equals -3. That's it. So it's a lot of what we've been doing in the past, but now we've just amped the difficulty up. Try giving you guys step by step so we can really master this concept. If you have any questions after you've watched this video, don't be afraid to send me a message, email, remind, however you want to ask me.